Coming up on this edition of PTL, have the Unicorns lost their magic? A hard look at Cloud9's problems in JAT 22. Plus, we take a look at the AP item changes in a brand new League of Learning. Set your programs to receive. Primetime League starts right now.
Oh my God, he stole it! Piglet comes up with a big one steal!
That's a three-man knockup! I demand a replay of that!
Hey everybody, welcome to Primetime League. I'm Riven Bezin III, and this is...
David Freak Turley, got there. Teamwork's on point. We're going to talk about the biggest stories from around the league, and as we close in on the summer split playoffs, there's a lot to cover.
That is correct. We'll start out with last week's surprise announcement that Kikis would be leaving the Unicorns of Love. Definitely a surprise for most. The Unicorns, they were already enough of a surprise. Kikis himself made the announcement after Thursday's win over the Copenhagen Wolves in a statement on his Facebook page. Kikis stated, "Last week I told the team that I wanted to leave. We decided to play together this week, but they will be playing with someone else for the rest of the split."
And we now know that at least for this week, that someone else is going to be the former Unicorns jungler, Gilius. Now, Gilius actually played with this team in the Challenger Series and in the 2014 promotion tournament that actually qualified them for the LCS. So at least they're familiar with this player, but it's been like a year.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. And to talk about what this will mean for the Unicorns of Love and their chances in the postseason, let's welcome the dynamic duo of Demacia and Crepo.
Thank you very much, Riv. And yeah, Unicorns of Love, tough situation. You're losing your jungler, very close to playoff. And I think one of the big problems here is that Kikis was one of the people who really brought out new picks. And that was a very big advantage for Unicorns of Love in the playoffs, like in best out of 5. How do you prepare against a team that can play Shaco, Team Jungle, whatever it is you could pull out? That is kind of gone now. And that was some of the magic we saw in spring that allowed Unicorns to make it to the final. And I don't think Gilius as a replacement is going to fill in that same role.
Yeah, he did have a lot of these off-meta picks that allowed him to shine in this jungle position. I mean, everybody still remembers that jungle TF he pulled out one time. True. But I feel like this split, he was kind of the consistent member that the Unicorns kind of needed because they've been very wishy-washy. And the Unicorns, they've been doing well so far. But every time they do well, the next day or the next week, they will show up and lose all of that progress. And in those games, I feel Kikis was one of the more consistent members.
Yeah, and that's one of the things. So Kikis was talking about this, how lack of communication on the team. We saw Kikis as a player obviously have a lot of focus on trying to be vocal in the early game, also in terms of vision control. He was the jungler who wanted the most in the EU LCS. So that's a big part missing now. And then he was mentioning how, lack of communication. He didn't feel like there was the same work ethic on the team. So there was some problems, clearly. I don't think Gilius is going to be the solution to that. I mean, this guy, yeah, he went to Worlds because he was basically replacing Svenskeren for 3 games. He's played for Gamers 2 now. He also qualified with Unicorns of Love to the LCS back when they beat Millennium. So clearly he knows the team, but he's not a shot caller. So I'm not really sure if this is going to solve a whole lot for them, or it's just a great mechanical player they're getting in.
At the same time, though, the Unicorns did announce that they drafted Airwax and Horo for their bench, so they have backups available should Gilius not really work out immediately. And we'll still have to see whether that turns out positive and whether UOL can stay in the race for playoffs and later on for Worlds.
So while the Unicorns look to regain their magic on the Rift, we have to talk about a team that's been feeling it all summer long. Heading into last week's games, Fnatic already owned the record for the longest regular season winning streak in the European LCS at 12 games.
But if they got a perfect 2-0 record this week, they could jump over Cloud9's overall LCS record and make it 14 wins in a row.
That's right, doesn't suck. But to do that, they'd have to take out the top 2 contenders in Europe just to make things a little bit better, a little bit hotter, and for first place, a little bit harder. First up, second place, H2K would take on Fnatic to try and get that win streak out of the way.
And you talk about it being a hard fight to go for. How about a level 1 that goes all the way into disaster? A great taunt, there's first blood, thank you very much on a Gnar, and suddenly Fnatic's like, I think our level 1 didn't go very well, as some of the kills going to come through.
Yeah, a little bit of a whoopsie here. Apparently, Reckless stated that H2K had kind of an 11-game streak on the same invade, and that's the game they changed it on. So
yep.
Take by surprise.
So obviously, great start. 8-1 is the kill score here. H2K up 5,000 gold at 21 minutes. It's never over. It's Fnatic.
It's never over against Fnatic. A lot to start off on Yellow Star and Rain over here. It gives Fnatic time to figure out what's happening. set the fight up for themselves.
Oudwamna 4-0-5 here, but can't do quite enough damage after
Yep.
killing Rainover, so the cleanup crew begins here. Reckless on the chase. He's going to kill him off thanks to the shutdown gold. Goodbye. Beautiful. Beautiful double kill. Suddenly, 8-1, 9-5. That's a bit better. 9-10. Fnatic got a whole bunch of kills in a row. They got a Baron as well 34 minutes in, and this is a good team fight.
Yeah, Fnatic took out an investment in strategy in this one, and the return on investment was absolutely huge throughout the rest of the game. Everybody thought this was the one to make it happen. Why did they start off like that?
Yeah.
But they always end like they do.
From 1-8 to 18-9, just like amazing mid game from Fnatic. So okay, they've tied the record.
Yep.
Now on to Origin, 10-3, the new second place team, great players, and once again, Origin looking okay.
Looking pretty good, trying to stop it now. Fnatic here have now tied Cloud9's 13 win record. They're looking for number 14 here. Origin says, if you're gonna get it, we're gonna make it difficult, and we'd rather you didn't.
Yeah, and poor Huni in a pretty bad spot, but Yellowstar with a flash shield showing up to do what he can, and that means they're actually gonna maybe knock down this Soaz Rise.
This is where things got a little crazy, freak. Soaz a little
Great
too
knockback.
hypey in the situation, back and forth. Probably should leave now, right? No, flashes it.
Flashes in, gets picked up by Febivin though, and this is an overdive by Amazing. He's like trying to catch Huni, but the shield on
Just
himself.
one more though.
Yeah, 3 kills got picked up for that dive, so Fnatic clawing their way back in. Still 7-11 in kills,
Yeah.
the Origin up 4,000 here.
I think a lot of those mistakes kept falling into the Origin fights. Here you see a bit of a misgate in by Peke's Twisted Fate right into a whole heap of damage.
The tornado was perfectly prepped by Yellowstar.
Yeah,
There
it
was
was.
literally nothing you could have done once that tornado came out. So really beautiful. It turns the fight around completely. Now suddenly quadra kill and a lead, not quite a lead, but a kill lead that does snowball into the win. 39 minutes victory. 2 very, very close games. You can see the massive goal deficit, 6.8K
Yeah.
is the highest.
I don't know how you can feel comfortable beating Fnatic. It's almost like a racing game. If you're the guy on pole position, if you hit a wall or anything, you're going to be in last immediately. That's what it's like playing Fnatic. The one mistake, and they take control of everything right away.
Great to watch them play. They're very
It
good.
is. It's amazing. It's going to be awesome to see the international stage for them this year. That victory over Origin put Fnatic at the top of the regular season record books with the sole ownership of the LCS consecutive win streak, now at 14 in a row. If Fnatic can keep this up for 2 weeks, they would become the first LCS team to have a perfect regular season. It's
That would,
crazy.
I mean, it's ridiculous, absolutely. That would also put Fnatic on the heels of yet another Cloud9 record from the 2014 spring split when the team went 18-0, if you count playoffs, 13 in the regular season, and then a 5-0 playoff run. So another record that they could look to break.
Crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely for the ULCS. Besides locking in the LCS record, Fnatic have also secured the #1 seed in the summer playoffs, which will give them a bye into semifinals. It's pretty nice. The only team who could hope to catch them are Origin, but Fnatic owns the head-to-head as a result. First place.
Guaranteed first place, pretty good. They're just done with week 7 already with that
Yeah.
one. But meanwhile, Origin has guaranteed themselves a top 7 finish, so at least they're going to be in the spring split. They're, of course, very likely to head to Worlds if they get a single more victory. They're going to the postseason.
You can almost call me Fnatic in the PTL FL4 League, except I did just lose a match. So no undefeated for me, almost. I got to figure out what the secret is. Despite owning the standings and rewriting the record books, Fnatic's recent victories have been anything but dominant. A closer look at Fnatic and their recent come-from-behind wins. Let's send it back over to the European M&M boys, Mitch Kreppel, Vorspools, and Martin DeFicio Lunge.
Thank you, Riv. And yeah, I mean, talking Fnatic, this winning streak, 14 games in a row. Should we just say it? Best team in the LCS ever? I mean, what do you think, Kreppel?
I think overall, historically speaking, this is the best team we've had, and also which has not necessarily had the biggest gap. I feel SK may have at one point had a really big gap towards their opponents last week, but the average level and the way they were winning these matches, I think we can conclude that Fnatic was the best team with by far the best shot calling.
And I think that's key because SK Gaming, they were so dominant in like, you know, this 1-3-1 setup because they could outplay the other teams. Fnatic, it's not about winning laning phase. It's more about the shot calling. It's about the strategy you use. But it is something I feel like they've been punished a little bit for lately in the EU LCS. I mean, they've been falling behind in quite some games. So Origin be like 7k gold ahead of them. We can see it right here, how both Giants and Gambit as well, teams pretty far under them in the standings, have been doing a good job because teams found ways, especially around standard lanes, and then getting to these 5-on-5 team fights against Fnatic.
Yeah, and this is something that shouldn't happen. You know, in 4 of the last 5 games, they fell behind this much, and I feel when you start looking at Worlds, are these Korean teams, these Chinese teams, are they going to leave that open, or are they going to punish Fnatic for these mistakes? I feel they get away with a lot of these things, and especially Europe as a region kind of disappoints me in the fact that they can't close out the games. At the start of the split, we were talking about how well Europe was closing, and there was only like a 25% correlation rate between, being ahead early game, closing it out, guaranteed victory. But right now, 50-50 almost, and teams are not closing as well enough in this region.
There's definitely a gap in coordination when we see some of the teams facing Fnatic, and that's obviously credit to Fnatic for being such a fantastic team. They can always find their way back into the game. But we had this interview with Rainover where he was talking about how we don't want to take any risk in the early game because we know we can outplay in the late game. I just feel like that's the wrong approach to take because, again, as you mentioned, if you start falling behind on the international level, or maybe in playoffs when teams really start preparing for this best out of 5, it might cost you some games. And if you are Fnatic and you are this good, do you really want to risk potentially not getting the first place and the number 1 seed leading into Worlds? If you are Fnatic, that's just how I see it.
Yeah, it's a bit of catch-22. In the end, you just want to improve as much as you can towards Worlds, because that is where Fnatic is looking to perform. And honestly, so far, 18-0 is definitely plausible.
It's going to happen.
Well, Fnatic has had key come-from-behind victories. There's a champion out there who is still hoping for a comeback of his own. Despite the fact that Lucian is now on a 0-15 losing streak, players continue to put faith in him. The most recent believer to take him into battle was H2K's Hjornen, who went 1, 2, and 3 on the Purifier in their loss to Fnatic. Elements' Tabs tweeted out something that is no doubt on the minds of many players. So Riot, when are those Lucian buffs coming? Silly eyes parenthesis. Tabs, we don't have the answer to that, but we hope the Light Slinger gets some love soon.
I didn't know Thresh had a taunt in his kit.
Oh, too soon, freak, man. First the guy loses his wife. Now he's losing every single LCS game. Give him a break.
I mean, I guess you got all the wins in the divorce. Either way, back to the realm of winning streaks. SKT was looking to make it 12 series wins in a row this summer when they took on the Jin Air Green Wings. Of course, 11-0 SKT, 7-4 Jin Air. Looking for a playoff position here, top 4 for Korea. Game 1, though. What?
Wolf comes from behind.
Perfect.
With the flash. No flash necessary, actually.
No.
Just the headbutt pulverized there.
Yeah, the gold card made sure he couldn't flash away from a headbutt, too, which is really slick. And we're going to see him some more. He's going top lane. And the Howling... Yeah, whoops, Monsoon not going to stop headbutt, so in he goes. Massive knockup, more kills.
Yeah, take a look at the scoreline during that play, though. I mean, Green Wings, they actually had a lead. This is a strong team that SKT are doing this to. And Wolf is on a rampage.
Just destroying absolutely everybody. And actually, the Monsoon knocks him into the team so he can go for more hit, knock him later on in the battle. Yeah, and just really good cleanup. Easy Hoon playing this series, playing Twisted Fate as well, able to get to the back line. So the dives from Alistair, Evelyn, Twisted Fate really working out to destroy Jin Air Green Wings. And I like that. Just something to disrupt the normally slow style of Jin Air. And then bam, a really good setup by Che.
Oh, yeah. But if you come at the Hoon, you best not miss. That was the very beginning of this game. They targeted him early. He would become a factor a little bit later.
Yeah, SKT actually really played a slow game really cleanly. You can see 4 turret kills to 1. They've already got Baron. Goodbye, GBM, because Wolf. He's back.
The Janna kill. I love it.
And this means the middle inhibitor goes down. You can fast forward a little bit with now all 3 inhibs gone, and there's really not much else that Jin Air can do anymore. It was cool to see that SKT could kind of play Jin Air's game of low kills, but knock the turrets down, and they were able to just mostly win by sort of out farming and out sort of map playing Jin Air and get a pretty clean 2-0.
Yep, so another couple of victories here for SKT, still undefeated.
12-0 in best of 3s, and that is, of course, perfect. Basically, the ups their overall game record to an impressive 24-2. They've dropped 2 individual games, so it's not literally perfect like Fnatic or the 2013 World Championship SKT, but it's still a pretty damn good scoreline.
Yeah, I mean, people are obviously going to want to start comparing this team to their former self back when they actually were undefeated in every single game, and to teams like Samsung White when they were, had their extremely dominant World Series win. But I'm actually really looking forward to SKT, this current form of SKT versus EDG. Because those look like already 2 powerhouses that are headed for the finals at Worlds.
Yeah, and it would be fun to see against the stars of old, if Edward Gaming could take some of their players and merge with a little bit of Master 3 and just put the old Samsung White team back together and just do battle anyway.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're never going to see that, unfortunately. But either way, it's going to be a fun matchup in the future because our BF game of the week is coming up. It's going to be the undefeated SK Telecom T1 taking on second place Coup Tigers, who have now won 8 series in a row themselves. themselves.
Yeah, it's been a huge turnaround for the Tigers, who went 1-3 in the first 3 weeks of Korea's summer split. But since June 11th, the Tigers have come roaring back, and they won 16 out of 17 games, taking 8 series in a row. And that has put them in control of second place for the past 3 weeks.
And yeah, that streak is of course absolutely impressive, but this series itself will be the true test of just how good KOO Tigers are and if they're actually back. This is the second time this summer these two teams have faced off. Now, SKT swept the initial series 2-0, but that was way back when.
Yeah, a few patches ago, and a long time ago, they've improved not only the team play, but also, you know, since the Cinderhulk patch was really the thing that kind of started the downfall of the Tigers, since then, pretty much everything that was introduced in the Cinderhulk patch has been constantly nerfed. Cinderhulk's down, Righteous Glory just got a big nerf, a lot of the tanky champions have been brought back in line. I'm very interested to see how the KOO Tigers handle this next big jungle patch with the buff to Runeglaive and the introduction of the Sated Devourer, because they've been heavily using Evelynn for the jungler, and I'm interested to see if they'll diversify.
Yeah, right now, actually, the only sort of competitive leagues I've seen on 513 yet have been the North American and European Challenger Series, and I haven't seen any Devourer champions on those. It's a small sample. It's only been 6 games, but we have not yet seen more Devourer things happening. But you know, KOO Tigers have improved. You mentioned the jungle being a big fault there. They've added a second one, so you've got they can switch the roles back and forth, make sure they've got the right guy for the job every time, which I think really does help, especially if that role gets changes. Then you can go for a player that has the play style already ready for it. It's definitely a positive for it.
Substitution is definitely becoming a lot bigger thing. Both Hojin and Wisdom taking games for KOO Tigers.
All right, we'll see if that happens. It's going to be our BF game of the week, so stay tuned for that. It's going to be a whole bunch of fun.
And Korea still has 4.5 weeks of regular season left to go. But last week, the LMS wrapped up their summer split, and heading into that final week, the Taipei Assassins were at risk of missing out on the playoffs for the first time in the history of their franchise. TPA trailed Midnight Sun Esports by 3 points in the standings, which meant they would need to earn a sweep in their final series of the summer to force a tiebreaker series to keep their postseason dreams alive. But the team that TPA had to sweep was none other than first place AHQ, who had only lost 2 games all summer. So TPA had a Herculean task ahead of them to avoid elimination from the postseason. They needed to start off strong, and they needed to start off fast. It was almost given to them on a silver platter here as Mountain got caught counter jungling. So good things for TPA with a risky pick of Nocturne in the middle. But how risky really was it when your Nocturne is completely deleting people 13 minutes into the game? Chowie with just enough mana to ult and get in on the fight. Chowie again, making Ann's life a living hell over and over again. Look at this glass cannon already. He's got an Infinity Edge static shiv into the last whisper. Hey look, here's Ann again. I found him, guys. The team is nowhere close, but yes, here comes Morning on that Shen teleport. Beautiful plays all around, and TPA was just able to dismantle first place AHQ. They looked like they could be the team that could keep going, and they were going to get themselves a playoffs position. Series, so far, so good. Ziv eventually getting chased out of this fight, and TPA holding very solid in game 1. Chowie 10-4-11, 336 CS, and nobody could touch the Nocturne. Game 2, Westor gets his famed Diana. He thinks he's a little more powerful once he's got the needlessly large rod, but he actually gets himself killed and baits in Elvis on this one. So TPA, things are looking even better coming into game 2. Head to the top lane. Mountain gets caught as well. With TPA's pressure on the map, they're able to make moves and start picks anywhere they want. Chowie now on the mid lane, Ezreal able to pick up a kill, but things looked too good. And when things look too good, something's got to go wrong. Always feels good to get a max range Q or max range anything on an Ezreal. Westor gets that and he says, oh look, now I have double buffs. Morning's going to be mine as well. Even with just a bit of mana, keeps the kills going, keeps the passive up, able to take down Morning, and it was really a big turn in the game. Westor, like I said, on that famed Diana, was then able to start and carry. That really hurt TPA. They needed that series sweep, as we said, but AHQ just made it too tough. So despite TPA coming so close to that victory, AHQ does knock them out of the postseason, just like they had taken them out in the spring playoffs. The LMS Summer Playoffs will begin without TPA on July 24th when Hong Kong Esports faces Midnight Sun Esports in round 1. The winner of that series takes on the Flash Wolves in round 2. with the victor battling AHQ in the finals for an automatic berth to the 2015 World Championship. And just remember, anything is possible because in the spring playoffs, AHQ came in as the number 4 team and went on to take down everyone else and earned a trip to the midseason invitational.
Over in China, Edward Gaming are the mid-season invitational champions, and last week they were trying to add another prize to Clearlove's trophy case, as last week the LPL had a break in the regular season as 28 teams battled for the Demacia Cup, a awesome cross-Chinese tournament. Now, Edward Gaming and OMG took to the Rift for the finals, with EDG looking to win their second straight Demacia Cup final. BO5, last match, here we go.
Yep, and they have almost their entire MSI roster there, except that Amazing J is in on Shen, and Koro still not well and not going to play. Amazing here on Alistar's got nowhere to go, and he's going to go down first blood to death, just what EDG want.
Well, there can only be one Amazing in this game, and it looks like EDG are the ones. And once again, he's coming in to kill off North here with the Shen ulti. Sivers staying under turret against Vayne. Big risk, and they get the kill.
Yeah, I love skirting that wall as well around the turret aggro. Only had to take one shot there, and they're back at it.
Yeah, Climactic Tifa here. Good catch on a Deft. A very heavy dive composition from OMG, but it kept Deft alive. So Pawn dead or not doesn't matter. They're going to knock up a whole bunch of kills. Here's the flash follow. Bam! Knocks him down. And cleanup continues. Kill number 4.
Yeah, and
kill number 5.
Going to finish it up in style there.
Penta kill to end that game. 30-minute victory. Plenty of kills in this one. Honestly, just a much better played strategic game by EDG. They punished all the missed moves by OMG. Let's move on to game 2, though. And that hook, oh man, Mako, you're so good.
Mako is his name. Gets the hook onto Cool to start it off, but it's actually OMG who go for a re-engage, chasing him down, and Clearlove's able to secure the first blood for themselves. Loveling tries to answer back, but he gets in trouble.
And Clearlove stays alive the whole way through. Didn't want to take the lantern, he could have, but it means a 2 for 0 off of one last auto attack from Mako. So a very good start to Edward Gaming. OMG find that they could maybe sneak a dragon.
All right, cool. Some objective control, guys. No problem. We got it this time. Oh, no! Pawn, the sniper from mid lane, able to snag it.
The early smite, so rough. You're 20-7 in kills.
Where's that sniper at, freak? Oh,
right
there he is. Call down the fire. And he's able to get the kill as well. API is real.
Sniper.
Take this one out.
So another 35-minute victory here. Edward Gaming up 2-0. This game was, I mean, it was kind of close, but you had a couple of good snipes, a couple of good plays. And
yeah, EDG, this series just looked to be in a dominating fashion here. Pawn going to continue the trend. Yeah, Shen doesn't get to finish the teleport, but it doesn't matter. He's going to be able to channel his summoner teleport and arrive anyway.
Yeah, he shows up just to run away. So, I mean, not the most massive TP in the world, but first blood comes through. No
I'm
dust.
here, guys.
And
Pawn is here for sure. Teleports in on Twisted Fate. Constant plays from Pawn this game. With the Twisted Fate ultimate, able to just hunt down OMG all over the map. In game 3, not going to get easier for them.
Yeah, already 11 kills picked up here. TF actually able to dodge the gravity field stun as well. Just easy push into the back line. 2 kills for the AD Kog'Maw of Deft. He does awesome as well. Just keeps going EDG's way.
Double teleport is back, freak. You remember the days of just stacking globals?
Yep.
Well, Pawn's having fun with it, and Leveling cannot go far enough back in time to escape that defeat.
Yeah, 4 seconds not enough. You need about 4 hours before the game's even started, and hopefully reverse course here. So 3-0, by the way, perfect game in game 3 of that BO5. No kills, no dragons, no turrets, only minion farm, which you can't exactly prevent anyway. So beautiful one-sided victory here that gave Edward Gaming their second straight championship at the Demacia Cup. And after winning the midseason invitational earlier this year, they are clearly the best team in China. I'm going to say probably the world as well.
Ooh.
Because they just beat SKT last time and they look even better.
I do like it. You know, start that rivalry off very quickly here. SKT and EDG already setting the stage for a great clash at Worlds. Everyone's looking forward to international competition, obviously. But EDG, I'm really interested in, you know, what players they bring, because they have so many players now, and what players are going to be well. They even have this live-in doctor now to hopefully take care of all the injuries and problems that they have, because they have so many Koreans on the roster as well. They have to mix and match and swap depending on which players they want to use.
I would generally say the best 2 would be Pawn and Deft. Like, that's the lineup I mostly want to see.
I think most people would agree.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope so, right? I mean, Pawn is a proven world champion. Deft has been long considered the best AD carry in the world. He's got competition now. He's had a couple of bad games, but these are players
he doesn't play much Draven.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Even if he can't play Draven, I think he's still a great player.
Same.
The league being named around him or not, it's been great. So while Edward Gaming was busy dominating the Chinese scene, there was another mid-season invitational participant who found themselves on a slide, actually, who went 0-2 this week. We're talking about TSM.
Yeah, and that was actually the first time that Team Solo Mid have gone 0-2 in a week since the summer of 2014. And the first time that the current roster has actually gone winless in a week, unless you count MSI, which we don't like to talk about anymore.
What happens in Tallahassee stays in Tallahassee. TSM never got wrecked by everybody. That never happened, guys. No, they got wrecked. But, of course, that first game of the week was up against Team 8, and it didn't look good. But TSM doing what they could in this one. They do have Wild Turtle playing once again this whole week long. And this is a great deep ward by Dodo Wait, which gets them the invade into Santorin.
Yeah, it didn't look good for TSM, but it looked great for Team 8. Dodo had multiple really good deep wards that he placed in this jungle that got them a couple of picks. Santorin number 1, Wild Turtle number 2.
Missed the Q. It's okay. Flame Choppers missed even worse. Rend into, oh, it's not enough. Okay, Flash, auto attack 2 more. Turtle realizes he's dead. Even a Lantern out to make it all wonderful. And it's just been a great game for Nian on this Kalista. Now a face check from Dyrus.
Yeah, he started off really strong. He was able to clean up multiple fights here. Some more vision control from Team 8, and TSM do not come out of this face check with a positive score here, as a good Azir ultimate is able to keep Golden Glue safe, and they chase him through the jungle.
Yeah, thankfully Maokai has a targeted route that'll follow you through the flash, so Wild Turtle's got nowhere to go, and Golden Glue's Azir pretty solid, but Nian's Kalista actually perfect kill participation, 7, 1, and 6. Definitely strong. Took him 5 dragons, took him 2 barons, but teammate knocked down Team Solo Mid.
Yeah.
In a super good win.
And they were really confident after that as well. All right, so TSM, game 2 of the weekend here versus Team Liquid. Very big game for them, as Team Liquid at the top of the standings as well.
Yep, we never got to see Keith versus Piglet. We do get to see TSM getting wrecked in the Team Liquid jungle. They invade for the blue buff, get absolutely punished by the re-engage here. And 2-for-0 says TSM, that was a bad choice.
Yeah, it was a really even game up until that point, but that put them behind, and this puts them further behind. Piglet's able to get the blind rocket steal with Corki. He said he was counting down in his head from the last time he saw the Baron at like 7,000 HP.
That was a beautiful stuff right there, and just a non-smite there from Santorin. And here comes the cleanup crew. It ends up being a very, very close fight. You can see a lot of damage going back and forth, but at a certain point, when you just run forward on Jinx, it goes bad. And there we go, Phoenix, big player right there, knocks down almost everyone by himself. Quick couple of cleanups.
Oh yeah, it was just beautiful from Phoenix. He bides his time, he waits. They even had a casualty already, losing the first man in that fight. But as soon as he sees the opportunity, takes out Turtle, 100% the AD carry, and that enables them to clean up the fight.
But we're going to move on and talk about the standings a little bit. TSM entered week 7 tied for first place, but they went 0-2. So the standings look a whole lot different for Bjergsen and crew. Gravity went 2-0. These guys are first place all by themselves.
Meanwhile, Team Liquid has improved to second place, while COG, Team Impulse, and TSM are all tied for third.
But while Gravity finds themselves at the top of the table, the most dominant team in North American LCS history suddenly find themselves in danger of being relegated. Jat takes a closer look at Cloud9's dilemma in the latest Jat 22.
Cloud9, the team with the highest regular season winning percentage in the history of the LCS, currently finds themselves tied for 8th place and struggling. 2 weeks ago, we saw High come out of retirement to jungle/shock call for the team, and while we did see Cloud9 pick up a win versus Team Dignitas on Sunday, they are now just 1-3 with High this summer compared to their 3-7 record before Meteor stepped down. And there is now a legitimate fear that Cloud9 could get relegated. High said in their latest post-game interview that 7th place was their current goal. 7th place for Cloud9. And the biggest question on everyone's mind is, what the hell happened? How did this team fall so far so quickly? So coming into the split, Cloud9 underwent its first official roster change. After 2 years and 129 LCS games as a group, High retired and Cloud9 turned to European talent Incarnation to fill the void. A player who had been banned indefinitely but had recently been reinstated and allowed to compete. And Incarnation was supposed to be everything High wasn't. A guy with a giant champion pool, a carry threat from the mid lane, and most importantly, an answer to Bjergsen. Unfortunately though, he's been none of those things. And Incarnation hasn't even been an above-average NA mid laner either. He ranks 8th in kills, 1st in deaths, 5th in CS difference at 10, and 8th in damage per minute amongst NA mids. He's also failed to compare to High's vision control skills. In the 2015 spring split, High killed 8.7 wards per game, which was most amongst mid laners in that split. Now this split, Incarnation clears 4.1 wards per game, which ranks him 13th amongst NA mids, which is dead last for the role. And Incarnation has definitely failed to meet expectations. He hasn't been the mechanical god many were promised, and High's shot calling and vision control are sorely missed by Cloud9. But there is much more at work here than just High versus Incarnation. Split over split, Cloud9 has been on a decline. They haven't even been the best team in North America since the spring of 2014. And they had very clearly peaked internationally. Let's be honest, this team wasn't going to make much noise even if they stuck with the exact same roster. And truth be told, with High versus Incarnation completely out of the picture, this team has had an awful split by their standards. Let's isolate as best as we can to remove shot calling from the equation and only look at the early game. In the spring split, Cloud9 were up a combined 20.7 CS at 10 on average, best in the league. This split, they're up 3.3 CS on average at the 10-minute mark, which ranks them 6th. That in turn leads to gold gaps that need to be made up for in the mid and late game, as seen here. Last split, Cloud9 had the 3rd best gold differential at 10 with plus 538. This split, they're ranked 8th in the league at negative 186. Even if they still had High in the mid lane calling the shots, he wouldn't magically make his team better at laning. Now think about what made Cloud9 great. When they were dominant, they had the best players with 4 out of 10 members in the top 10 of Challenger. They had the best pick and ban phase, with Lemonation being the first to bring a notebook into the draft phase. And they had the best shot calling, with High manning that post for so long. They were the best at everything. Now, what is Cloud9's edge? Sneaky's the only team member still in the top 20 on the ladder. Their early laning is average, Meteor stepped down as their jungler, coaching across the LCS has leveled up, and Cloud9's own pick and ban phase has been called into question. Plus, Cloud9's legendary team cohesion, it's all but vanished. Everything that set Cloud9 apart from the competition has either disappeared or been equalized by the rest of the league. Their identity has been lost, and they've reached a point where they need to redefine themselves. And that process takes time. Their win against Team Dignitas on Sunday showed a glimmer of hope, but it doesn't change the fact that Cloud9 is sitting in 8th place and being tormented by uncertainty. Because right now only one thing is certain. The Cloud9 of old is gone for good.
Cloud9 does not drop a single game in the playoffs. And look at that. They are a team that works together and likes each other. That is the best team in North America.
Hey everyone, it's time to take a look at Primetime League's Fantasy League of Legends Legendary League, and I am thanking my lucky stars because this past week, Mark Merrill finally lost a game. Dante Basco harnessed his fire-bending Lost Boy abilities and took him down. Meanwhile, Trevor took a quick gut shot to Rick Fox, and the Imagine Dragons narrowly defeated Chandler Riggs. But it's with a heavy heart that I report that I have gotten my 2nd loss of the season, this time to Gordon Hayward, and he had some salt to pour into my wounds. You know, yes, Gordon, you beat me. In fact, I'll admit it, I got posterized, I got destroyed, but that's okay. I don't know why, because now I have the fire and determination to come back and march to victory yet again, and I'm only 1 game behind Mark Merrill with 2 weeks to go. You do the math. This week, Mark faces Chandler, and Chandler, if you want to reach out to me on Twitter, I can help you strategize. We can take that win over. QuickShot will take revenge on Gordon for me. The Imagine Dragons will face the Fox, and I will be taking on Dante Basco once again, who no doubt is a bit cocky after that victory. But make no mistake, I'm going to crush this guy. But if you think I will take Dante down once more, send a tweet to @EleableEsports along the hashtag FreakWin, or if you love Rufio, send along hashtag DanteWin. And now with only 2 weeks of competition remaining, let's check things out in the Fantasy LCS at large. Up first, the studs, and we had 2 studs that were right next to each other. Apollo and Power of Evil each grabbed 71.8 points for the week. Massive scores. Of course, they have split the difference in the any greater than EU department, so who knows. But Piglet pushed it over the edge as the 3rd highest point runner with 69.5. Awesome redemption. Thanks for repping NA, Piglet. On the flip side, though, here are the duds for last week, and none of them broke single digits. Otter had 6.4 points as enemy went 0-2. KiwiKid only got 7 in Dignitas' 2 losses, and likewise his top lane teammate Gamsu got 8.5 in his worst performance of this split. Dignitas not doing great, so let's check out the alerts as a result. Kikis will be off the Unicorns of Love roster this week. They will be playing with Gilius. Now, this is the jungler who actually played with them in the EU LCS promotion tournament, but of course that's been a year. We'll see how Gilius does. But next up, Dignitas. All of them. They were taking a nosedive. Last week they went 0-2. This week they play Gravity and TSM. Bench everyone. Now the curse of PTL fantasy alerts is that they'll actually do well, but I mean, history says this guy shouldn't be very good. Also, weirdly, Power of Evil. Now, he was a stud last week, but his overall performance for the LCS is only 17.9 points per game, which is actually pretty low for a mid laner. Plus, he'll be playing with a new jungler this week, which could also be a big risk. That said, they play SK and Gambit, so maybe you want this, but it's a risk. There's generally going to be better mid laners. Finally, sleepers. Now, last week, I know, our sleepers kept sleeping last week, so that was kind of rough, but we're back with more recommendations and a much louder alarm clock. TIP support Adrian is the #2 support in fantasy, behind only Yellowstar. But only 22% of you guys are actually starting him. 22% of leagues, rather, have him as a starter. This should be 100%. This guy should be playing in every single fantasy LCS league. Next up, Gravity top laner Hanser. He's also #2 for his position. Gravity plays Dignitas and Teammate, which should be in a 2-0 week. 100% starting should be here, but it's not, so fix that. And then Phoenix, Team Liquid mid laner, is the #3 mid laner in all of fantasy across both sides of the pond. He's the #8 player overall, 23.7 points per game, yet he's only starting in about half the leagues out there. Once again, this guy should be starting in mid lane or flex everywhere. But of course, you guys don't have to take my word for it. You can listen to what the pros have to say in this week's mic check.
Hello.
Hello. Hello. Hello. Hello. Hello.
Yellow.
Alright, guys. We are 6 weeks into the season. 7. Is it 7?
Yeah, it's 7.
Yes. Right, 7 weeks into the season, getting smack daddied, and this is where we turn it around. Why are we going to turn it around? Because losing sucks.
But at least we have positive KDAs in our losses. Oh, yeah? Because we were winning until we lose.
Look in front of you. You can see Jack in the audience. All the crowd members wearing C9 shirts and 0 Dignitas shirts. Are you really going to let down all of our fans sitting here supporting us? No. GG, guys.
Nice.
We won a game!
Yeah, go, 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 go.
He's fished, he's fished, he's fished.
Ball down, tornado. Body slamming going in. Trashy.
I'm out. Back. I'm out.
Peter. Fucking Peter! I thought we were going Peter!
And I'll tell you all about it when I shut up again.
Jake, what the hell, dude?
Is it just me or is this monitor's like tilted? Slanted? Maybe I'm just tilted.
Okay, no. Can we finish? Yeah. 2 seconds stone, 2 seconds stone. Go for game. Yeah, ignore them, just finish. Nexus.
I don't. Okay, go.
Get this.
No! We have to force fight.
Look. They engage. I can kill frontline here.
Kill frontline.
Help me with Rice.
Rise. Kalista, pin for Kalista, by the way. Kalista.
I'm tanking.
Rise. Fuck, go.
Nice.
Go me.
How about dash?
No, take break.
I pushed mid already. Nice.
Is Nash up or no?
Not yet.
Yeah!
Oh my god!
Holy shit, Pedro.
Okay, let's focus game.
Yeah, focus game. Oh, dragon.
My favorite one has to be that double lip one.
Guys, back! Everyone back! Oh, come on, Okay, this is a bad choice. I'm gonna go back to my fountain now, and we're gonna try again, and that never happened.
Back. I thought we were going.
We said go in. That was my rocket jump, by the way. It was amazing. I'm the best Ristana ever. All right, guys, last week on Twitter, we asked you to let us know which player you felt was the most invaluable to their team's success, and here were some of the top answers. First one, no surprise, TSM's Bjergsen got 21% of the vote, but we also saw Yellowstar, High, and Faker each getting 11%. However, just 5% for CLG's Rusty Basketball Net. That feels a little bit low after seeing that double lift play.
I definitely do have to agree with the Bjergsen one.
He just seems so essential to this team's success. They can even be winning a game. If he makes one mistake and he dies, then they lose the game.
Yep.
So I agree with that. That one is number 1 up there. As far as the other ones shifting around there, I would put more weight on Yellowstar just because he's the only member that stuck around with this team.
Yeah.
And they're undefeated. They have had a ridiculous run.
It's ludicrous. Yeah, he managed to actually put a crazy roster together. Faker, I agree, is like not super required because like we've seen EasyHoon do just fine. Like SKT is still a very good team without Faker. I don't think the same is true for Fnatic.
It's funny that we have like the best player in the world or one of the best players in the world, and you're like,
I mean, he's okay.
Not that essential to the team, just because they have EasyHoon to back him up.
Yeah.
They've obviously won a lot of games by swapping them out.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, there's another team I want to bring up with Westor being here for AHQ. I think Westor should have been in there at some point because he has been so dominant for so long. One of the big rocks of the team. Very dominant mid laner over in the LMS. So I think he'd be a critical player. But from the most critical person to the biggest critical strike, we want you to tell us something this week. And it's which player will have the biggest critical strike in the LCS this week. And for a shot at the Hall of Fame, tell us how much damage that critical strike will deal. So for example, I'm going to say Reckless, 1438.
1438? That is a large critical strike.
That's actually barely above the average Caitlyn crit in a game.
Ah, okay. Well, I'll have to go with Altec.
Okay.
1322.
1322. Yeah. So we're basically saying they're both going to play Caitlyn with a full build. That's probably not going to happen, but whatever. Those are predictions. And you can send your predictions over to @LevelEsports with the hashtag PTL, and we'll see who gets it right. And if NN will be joining that Hall of Fame where, unfortunately, the entrance is starting to get a couple of cobwebs in it.
So I'm going to say the biggest crit by far will be forgiven on Caitlyn at around 1438 damage. It's got to be on point. So we'll say 1438, and that's what I'm sticking with. Anyway, as we move on over in Korea, the teams just below SKT and the KOO Tigers continue to play leapfrog in the standings. Case in point, CJ Entis and KT Roaster, who are battling for playoff position. And as they should be very close, KT's chomping at the heels of CJ Entis, who are 7-4, KT 6-4. So CJ Entis really knew how hard they had to come to this game, how much they needed this win to stay in the lead. Helper, however, going to need a little bit of that in the beginning. KT score, bringing his calculator to this one to get out by the skin of his teeth, almost dying, and the pressure would lead KT to think they had a bit of false sense of security here, going in a little too hard, and a beautiful ultimate from Helper to headbutt over, coming in from Mad Life to help take them down, and CJ start to pull the game back in their favor, dragging this one out so they can get the Dragons. Here for number 5, they don't even need to get it. The minions are already onto the Nexus, and CJ are nicely able to come up with a first win. 100% kill participation for Mad Life there, much quicker than the next 2 games. These ones slowed down a little bit. Might be Nagane's Azir, might be the fact that Space used Flash every time he had it up here. CJ Entis start off strong in the beginning, and they keep going. For the Baron fight now, Space on the backside with Coco, getting a little support, keeping the DPS on the right side. A nice ultimate coming in from Nagane to pretty much save the rest of the team. But like I said, Space has Flash, Space used Flash. He gets another kill for himself as the kills start to go up here. 15 already in the game. We jump to 52 minutes and we're on to 20 kills as KT feels like they have the pressure to go against a Baroned up team with minions down the lane. And you know what? They were right. On to Space. You know what? His Flash is down this time. So they're going to be able to take him out. CJ running for their base, and they did not actually have enough to stop this one. You can see it was only a few minutes later, but 53 minutes overall in this game. Space doing what he could, trying to get it for the team, but he could not as KT came up for the win. He had the score though, just could not carry it. Coming on to the next one now. Score getting a little too deep for his team. And Nagne on Azir, like I said, a pivotal player throughout this series, is going to start picking up kills. He'll even pick up a few more towards the later part of the game. Kills being secured in the top side here as KT begins to get some momentum in the game. There's number 3 just 20 minutes in without CJ being able to answer whatsoever. The gold was still close, but another 20 minutes catapults everything into the lead of KT, and a pentakill into the hands of Nagane. The fight looks iffy on the bottom side with Peekaboo missing a box, missing a hook, but it stops the engage coming from the gate side of the base, and KT is able to clean up. A beautiful Emperor's Divide into Shurima's Legacy coming from Nagane. The rest of the team on point. Hey, look, a triple kill as they move into the base. Ambition now in space in the eyes of KT. Someday with the Iron Elixir on, if you didn't know where the power is coming from, here's a reminder, Shurima. And it's going to be the kill, the pentakill coming in for Nagane as they pick up the win. The series goes to KT 2-1 in pretty stunning fashion there with the way CJ took game 1. And as the LCK continues into week 9, here are the current standings. As we mentioned earlier, SKT still owns the top of the table, as they should, and they'll be taking on the second place Coup Tigers on Thursday in our BF Game of the Week. And earlier, 4th place CJ Entis took down Najee Fire, inching them closer to KT Rolster, who has moved up to 3rd now. Meanwhile, Jin Air has dropped down into 5th. And the positions in the LCK aren't the only things that have changed. All of the AP items have been refactored, and Jat takes a look in an all-new League of Learning.
Hey everybody, Jat here with another edition of League of Learning. This week we are going to be talking about items because there were 20 item changes in the patch that we will be playing LCS on this weekend, so let's jump right in. First up, I want to talk about Runeglaive. No longer applies on spell effects, so that's Ezreal's Mystic Shot, doesn't apply it, but if you watched last week's League of Learning, shouldn't affect him. Mainly a buff to Eve and Nidalee. Look at Spirit Visage, that helps Soraka. People she's healing, she'll heal for more if they have that item. And Righteous Glory, that hurts tanks a little bit that we're using it as an initiation tool, but it still makes you just as fast and is just a little bit weaker on slightly lower cooldown. Definitely not dead as an item. Jumping into the Sated Devour, the more important thing right here. Big player in solo queue, maybe not a huge player in the LCS. Specifically, the stacking mechanics is what I want to look at right here. Epic monsters, that's Dragon and Baron, giving 5 stacks, and Scuttlecrab Crab giving 2 stacks, are the biggest things that pro players will have to control if they want to build this item. Kayle, I think, is the most powerful with this thing, followed by the rest of them who have a chance of seeing LCS play. It might take some time because the play style of the team has to change into a heavier jungler farm style in order to see it. But the power of this item when it turns on, as you've seen in solo queue, may warrant play in the LCS. Looking at the AP items now, the brunt of the changes. Let's compare the most common 3-item build we would see on the old build versus the new patch. So 7,900 gold for that old combo, 8,300 gold, but gold efficient stats across the board. So mainly the thing you have to take away from this is you can still build those as your first 3 items, but it will be more expensive and it will be worth it when you complete, but you won't be at the same power point until later on into the game. Also, Needlessly Large Rod now builds into 5 items instead of 3, which gives you flexibility. Another thing that gives you flexibility is the fact that Needlessly Large Rod is now only 1,250 gold, and the build paths of the already smooth first items is even smoother now. Morellonomicon and Athene's Unholy Grail, if you just look at the cheap cost of those components, it's really easy to build. Whenever you have to go back to base, you can always come back with more powerful items. From there, we have to look at Rumble, who is one of the biggest winners on this patch, actually, because his core item, the only person who really rushes a Liandry's, is getting a pretty big buff. 30 more ability power for only 100 gold. He was already pick or ban phase in a lot of LCS comps. That is going to increase to more bans and more picks in the LCS. Also, looking at some of the max item builds. We touched on the Needlessly Large Rod. This is the old max item build with all 3 120 AP items. It used to give 711 AP. Now with those same items, because some of those items have been taken down a peg, it would max out at 696. So there are some other alternative build routes you could go. If you start Morellonomicon into the Seraph's Embrace, you get 787 ability power, or if you want to go all out into a bunch of mana, really slow power curve with a giant peak, you can get nearly 860 ability power if you go tier into Catalyst and then rush all those giant AP items. So a lot of different options you could see. The biggest option you have, though, is this Rylai's Crystal Scepter, maybe the most impactful change as far as the AP items go in this patch. Slows no longer stack, so Rylai's needed the change. But the biggest change here is the fact that the AoE slow is 40% for 1 second. And think about that potential on these potential champions. Ziggs ult, Xerath ult, those slow for 40% now. A lot of kind of cool interactions that if people are willing to experiment and find room in their build paths for the Rylai's, these could be absurdly powerful. These are the champions I picked out that have the biggest synergies with the Rylai's. Brand and Vel'Koz will also fit in there, but you only have so much space on the screen. This is the thing that could provide the most disruption, and I'm excited to see pros try out Rylai's in the LCS or in other pro leagues across the world. That will do it, though, for this League of Learning. There are a lot of items to cover, so I hope you learned something.
Now it's time to take a look back at 5 pulse-pounding plays that nearly made your heart explode. Or as Nagne and Deft can both call it, the Penta. Shuffling in at number 5, Nagne picks up the Penta kill.
No problem. Oh, Ambition gets hooked and boxed into the side. Score doesn't want to finish off that kill yet, though. They're trying to prevent the flank. Helper's about to turn into Megadar, but how much will it help? Arrow gets stunned in the back, but he's under the Azir turret, and there's the Shenhold. He does die, but Nagne is full HP. They committed so much that is a triple for Nagne, and that is a quadra. Is Nagne going to get the Penta? He's coming in. They run it. What? No! Penta kill! And there it is.
Not to be outdone, Death secures a Penta of his own at number 4. Coming in at number 3, Gambit's Wombo combo knocked the wind out of SK's sails.
Betsy could have flashed W, I believe, and he did. He saved it until after when he'd already been poked down so low. That was a mistake for him. Diamond, though, he's gonna go in for the gang and
that's a 3-man
setup!
The last breath! I demand a replay of that! Yes!
Alright, okay. Diamond, flash burst time, and goes to Pepper. 3-man ulti. From Copper Shot as well. I mean, you rarely get this great of a setup.
At number 2, Cool's hail of arrows nets him the unofficial quadra kill.
进场没有什么伤害，早已经闪现。被对被这边的艾克击伤。对，这边正常，这条差一下被烫死了。但是这个字飞起来了，看下这个字后续来了，又是一剑闪现过来，红八步 W 没给到，这波又是灵活的走位，但是无招他闪现过来给到一发 Q， 手脚用神的人也没有中。哇，这边明枪易躲，暗箭难防啊。
And rocketing in at number 1 this week is Piglet's blind Baron steal.
They start up the Baron just because Turtle's bottom. You are not late game yet. This is only 26 minutes in. You can't burn through this Baron. An AD carry being bottom.
Oh my God, he stole it! Piglet comes up with a big one steal!
Smite is up.
No vision. No blinded it.
Way.
He blinded
it. It's even better now.
And remember, whenever you spot a pro play that deserves to be included here, send it our way to @LOL Esports along with the hashtag #ThePenta. Maybe one of these weeks we'll get 5 Pentas across the board. It'll be pretty crazy for League across the globe. And that brings us to the close of yet another primetime league. I think I'm actually going to be able to do this. I'm actually alone right now. Yes. Oh, man. This is my time. Anyway, not because I feel like it and not because someone's making me, be sure to check out the last hit because it's all about Zyrene and the sweet sounds of the auto-tune.
I want to look at team comps first. Yeah, definitely I want to look at the compositions against each other because Dignitas's has Diana, Lee Sin, Jarvan, Sivir. This is a composition that wants to run at you and just cream like all over your team. Cream like all over your team. Cream all over your team. Cream all over your team. Yeah. I'm 12 years old. Boom. You guys are dead. You're dead. And then at that point, when C9 gets all these shields and they get slightly ahead of you, boom. They take the wind out of your sails. I know. I'm 12 years old. Cream like all over your team. Cream all over your team. Cream all over your team. Yeah.
I'm 12 years old.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm 12 years old.
Thank you.